Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. We are about to begin the program, so can you please silence your cell phones and make sure you're seated? The Soul of India, hosted by the Brahma Kumaris USA, warmly welcomes you. And here is our special moderator, Sister Dr. Jenna of the Brahma Kumaris Meditation Museum and the host of America Meditating radio show.
I think you can do better than that. Om Shanti. Welcome, everyone. Om Shanti. Let me hear you. Come on, I know the traffic was quite an experience, but let me hear you. Okay, let me hear you say Om Shanti in soul awareness. Om Shanti. All right, welcome everyone. I'm so happy to see so many of you today. And I have to tell you, the fact that we have our beautiful Sister Jayanti of the Brahma Kumaris here, I couldn't be more thrilled. If I was any more excited, I'd be out of my skin. I really would. I'm telling you the truth. I really would. We've got a really special night for you. And many of you know by now the Brahma Kumaris' work, continues to highlight the best of human beings. And I really deeply believe each and every one of us are the best. And if we could just serve the energy of the best in us, the world will be at peace. Don't you agree? Don't you agree? Come on, wake up. Don't you agree? Thank you so much. So for the first half of the program, we're going to kind of explore and travel around India's richness and its culture. As you know, it's the 75th year of India celebrating its independence. And so when all the centers of the Brahma Kumaris came together in America, we wanted to look at the soul of the richness of its culture and the contributions that Indians have made in the United States of America, but also all over the entire world. And on many levels, especially for those of you who are Indians, we've remained very quiet in the world, just pushing through, building family, career, charity, whatever we can do. So here's my invitation to all of you tonight. Feel free to tell your friends where you are so they know that nobody has to come and wonder where you're at, right? Let them know that you're actually in a safe space this evening. And the second thing I'd like you to do is to really sit in a state of receiving, as if in Washington, D.C., we don't always get a lot of really special, pure, angelic, peaceful people. And when you're in the midst of someone like that, it sometimes disarms you and you let down your ego and all the limitations that you're just so accustomed to holding on to because you see too many people with limits and fears. We're going to be in the company of someone that has worked over 55 years of eradicating fear and limitations in her personality. And she has remained a very humble instrument of God. And I couldn't be happier to be moderating her and all of you this evening. So we're going to travel down the road of India for a little bit at the beginning of the program. And then for the rest of the program, we are going to enjoy Sister Jayanti. But first, one of our very dear friends, Congressman Krishnamurti, has something to say to you. So I would love for him to come up and say hello. Congressman?
Everybody, I'm Congressman Raja Krishnamurti from the 8th District of Illinois. I want to say a special thank you to Sister Jayanti, Sister Jenna, and all the dedicated volunteers with Brahma Kumaris for putting together this celebration. 75 years ago, after peaceful protests, the people of India finally won their freedom and their independence. And we celebrate the birth of that democracy the largest democracy in the world through all types of celebrations, and the one that you are engaging in is very important as well. I want to say what you're doing in terms of celebrating the soul of India and making sure that everybody has a taste of our culture and cuisine, our heritage, is so important, not only for sharing these values, this culture and this heritage with our children, with our families, and the Indian American community, but also with the wider community. And so congratulations again on your celebration of the soul of India. I look forward to being with you in person, and until then, God bless.
Oh, thank you so much. Give him a warm hand. You know, one of our biggest wishes in Washington, D.C. is to see a lot of our political leaders somehow investing in their inner work for their spiritual side. And I think it's so important for us to acknowledge the ones that are doing things like meditation and reflection, like our very, very good friend, Congressman Tim Ryan, who has initiated meditation on Capitol Hill. So he's a really, really special soul. All right, we're going to move on, and when I get Senator Warner's letter, I'll be able to share with you how beautiful he is so happy that we're having this program together. So what I'll do, I'll ask our first set of dancers, Sister Aditi and Sister Rishima. These two young ladies, I have known them for quite a number of years. When I first met Rishima, I think, Rishima, you must have been about maybe 2 or 3 years old. And I have to tell you, looking at this young girl growing into this beautiful flower just makes my heart dance. They're going to perform a very special dance on the song Ananda, and I would like to invite them up to bless us with the gift of dance. Aditi, Rishima. Can you all hear me? What did you feel when they were dancing? Anand, bliss. Anyone else? What did you feel? What? Yes, a lot of happiness and purity and peace. And one of the things that I came to learn, because I was raised in the United States, right, is that much of the dance that comes out of India is from the scriptures, sacred texts. So I think that one of the reasons why Indian dancing touches the soul so deeply is that it's coming from the experience of something that they've read deeply between a conversation between the soul and God. And so what we're witnessing is how that feels in dance when the soul has a relationship with the divine and has the ability to share. So give them a big round of applause one more time. Okay, get ready to really feel your enlightenment increase in this space. I met Akshay quite a number of years ago. A very, very humble, sweet, shy young boy. And he's been practicing meditation now, actually how long? I don't know, quite a number of years. And I have watched this young man grow into one of the greatest examples that we could ever see for our future. At the age of 13, he continues to just brighten up our minds with the things that comes out of Akshay's lips. He speaks truth, and he's not afraid of doing that. The poem that Akshay is going to share with us is one that he sat in deep meditation to offer us the journey of time of what India has been through and where it is today. Please give a big round of applause to Akshay. I'm going to call him Akshay Kumar because I can never pronounce his last name. Akshay?
Om Shanti. This poem is called The Golden Sparrow because that's what Bharat was called one time. Here goes nothing. There once was a land of unfathomable abundance, firmly anchored in divine providence, where palaces of pure gold and diamonds stood the size of cities amidst lush green landscapes traversed by the deities, where wise kings led without a single doubt, for they ruled the world inside and out, where jewels lay in between our eyes, but also flew high through our blue skies. Born with 7 virtues, 16 celestial degrees, our bodies grew straight, tall like trees. The world was a tree at its root, limited people, limitless loot. The consciousness was purest of pure, and the bodies needed no cure. Such was the class elite. The Sun dynasty couldn't be beat. We danced and pranced in our God-given boon. As the sun concluded, so did the moon. The world was a tree at its trunk. We still felt the highest rank. But soon came a shift. There arose a rift in our minds and beneath our feet. Vices came about in the air we breathed. The 7 virtues had become 7 seas. Soon came tens and tens of nations. False kings arose through pompous coronations. But they weren't the same, were they? Mindset kept their wisdom at bay. The world kept filling and filling with sound, and through blind, frantic search, God had to be found. The world was a tree at its branch. Like a fork, it diverged into every possible path. The world oxidized like an old piece of copper. When vices became rulers, princes became paupers. In desperation, we made humans gurus and pushed God into pebbles, but that solution only fed further into our troubles. We rebuilt planes to fly in the black sky. We made buildings many stories high. Modern medicine healed bodies, but not minds. Darkness and ignorance had overtaken our kind. Without trust, the world had no guarantees. We were born without virtues and just 2 celestial degrees. The world had branches, now it grew twigs. Lost in ignorance, we wore masks and wigs. Our faith became blind, our worship became a chase. An impending storm threatened to remove the tree from its base. For 24 centuries, vices had taken their toll. In front of our eyes, diamonds had become coal. And then came the Supreme Father, the Supreme Soul, tearing darkness to play his imperishable role. Placing the urn of knowledge over the heads of mothers, he led a quiet transformation among the brothers. He preached knowledge with such conviction that it couldn't be questioned in any jurisdiction. Setting the codes of conduct, he guides our way to become the deities that we were one day. He plays the flute of knowledge every day, starting with love, remembrance, good morning, and namaste. Om Shanti.
Wasn't that amazing? How are you doing? Still nervous?
Yeah.
Oh. Didn't he do great? He did great.
Thank you.
All right. He was so nervous. I says, you have nothing to be nervous about. Just speak to everybody as if the Titanic is sinking. He's like, that's pretty good. All right, I want to make sure I get Senator Warner's letter in because his office would be not very pleased with me. So as you know, Senator Warner has been a very strong supporter of Indian Americans, and his letter to us is, I'm so pleased to extend warm greetings to all of you who have gathered for the Soul of India event in celebration of the 75th anniversary of India's independence. With the ties that bind India and the United States, Virginians welcome the opportunity to recognize this very important milestone in India's history. I know attendees will enjoy celebrating together as you discuss India's past, present, and future. I commend the Brahma Kumaris Meditation Museum for organizing this special event, and Virginia is proud to be the home to one of the largest population of more than 4 million Indian Americans nationwide. Virginians, give a big round of applause. Those from Maryland and DC, we also like you. So the richness, the richness and diversity of this community is a strength to us all. Indian Americans are successful entrepreneurs, doctors, academics, and more, building companies, creating jobs, and enriching our communities. I'm so honored to serve as co-chair to the bipartisan Senate India Caucus, which is one of the largest country's caucus, county caucus in the United States Senate. Our aim is deepening the United States-India partnership, including by increasing two-way trade and enhancing our strategic partnership across a range of domains, everything from technology, global health, and research, to clean energy, defense cooperation, and counterterrorism. We have worked hard to find opportunities to further collaboration between our two countries, including through increasing United States defense sales, supporting reforms in India to ease business for United States companies, and finding ways to increase academic exchanges. So as the world continues to respond and build back from the pandemic, we have seen the challenges and devastation that have impacted people around the world, necessitating coordinating response and international collaboration. I have pushed the past and the current administration to expand cooperation, public health efforts with India, efforts that we have seen related to vaccine supplies and equipment and public health coordination have all demonstrated the strength and possibility of bilateral and multilateral United States-India partnership. I remain optimistic about the United States-India relationship, and I continue to believe we can further our great strides together. Events like this anniversary celebration, where customs and ideas can be exchanged, further this goal. I send all my best wishes for fulfilling and successful event. Senator Mark Warner. Please give him a hand of applause. And Thank you so much, Senator Warner, for all the work that you've been doing for Indians and non-Indians and everyone in our beautiful state of Virginia. We deeply appreciate your commitment to serve. As we move on into the program, we would like to now play a video that we have put together that we thought kind of gives an idea of just the contribution of Indians in America, but the beautiful relationship between India and America. Here's a Soul of India video. Please enjoy.
The Brahmakumaris in America invite you to celebrate Mother India's 75th year of independence as we take time to feel the soul of India. Throughout time, India and America have had strong relations built on mutual respect and contributions towards progress and development. We'd like to take you on a journey. As we descend on earth and begin to play out our parts, we marvel at the incredible mysticism of India, the diversity of religions, the colors, the joyfulness, the prayers, the love and reverence for God. And as we ventured abroad to find new opportunities, we excelled and became doctors, entrepreneurs, and scientists. We made an impact in politics, business, fashion, the arts, and more. We brought our family values, value for education, generosity, hard work, and our hearts to America. We entertain, and most importantly, we uplift lives. Ours is a learning and growing relationship, and now, together we celebrate 75 years of India's independence. When we look inside ourselves, we ask, who am I? Who do I belong to? Where am I from? And we begin by seeing ourselves as souls, first connected to the Supreme, belonging to the One, Vasudeva Kutumbakam, truly the world as one family. One of our greatest contributions have been music and dance. Did you know that many dances are a sacred expression of a story in the scriptures? Dance has brought us to a deeper place in ourselves. Kathak, Bharatanatyam, Odissi, these dances continue to remind us of the sacredness within. Our spirituality is deep. The studies, stories, scriptures, the celebration of knowing that the deepest part of the soul, the energy that we are, that inner light, is our spiritual potential, and we brought it here to enhance America's glory. It has been embraced and loved by all walks of life. Over 38 million people practice yoga. We love that Diwali is a favorite holiday in America now. Our roots, our values, they are intrinsic, just as yours, and we are proud to be a part of the fiber of the United States and to call this home. Let this be our pride as we celebrate the world's largest democracy, India's 75 years of love, values, soul, light.
I've appreciated that video very much because for me it shows how much we all need each other. And that America being a country of immigrants, if we recognize the values and the gifts that we bring from our motherland into this land, of course we enhance. We not only enhance America, but we enhance even our own cultures, because then other people see us and we see others. It's beautiful. It's beautiful. You ready for another dance? Everybody's okay? Having a good time? I know you all you just came to see Sister Jayanti. I know. I'm gonna move on, don't worry. All right, next we have a beautiful young dancer, Sana Panda. And she will come and perform it's a very intricate dance. It's called Odisha. And she will also, I think her instructor will explain a little bit about the meaning of the dance and what the movements are. And I'd like to ask Arpita to come up. Please give her a round of applause, which is her teacher.
Namaste. Good evening, everyone. So dance is the hidden language of the soul. Martha Graham. Indian classical dances are mirror of the traditional culture in India, and therefore, the people in India find it easy to connect with them. Now, there are 8 Indian classical dance forms, and Odissi is one of them. All these classical dances are a combination of dance of mind and soul. We know that our movement is the most basic form of communication for every human being on the planet. Dance or movement can express what a whole bunch of words cannot. Dance expresses the people, the culture, the place they come from, a moving record of our human existence. India has a rich diversity in cultures, languages, traditions, and religions. Indian classical dance is another cultural staple that creates cohesion yet diversity in India. Every state in India has its own folk and or classical dance style. People use dance on a number of occasions, such as during social events, religious events, or for community engagement. Now, my student, Sana Panda, is going to perform Odissi dance. Odissi dance was originated in the Jagannath Temple of Puri in Orissa, a southeastern state of India. The earliest evidence of Odissi dance can be found in 2nd century BCE. Today, Sana will perform Mangala Charan. Mangala Charan is an invocatory piece in which the dancer slowly enters into the stage with flowers in hand and makes an offering to Mother Earth by Bhumi Pranam. Here the dancer seeks blessings and permission from Mother Earth for dancing. Followed by Ganesh Vandana, in which the dancer prays and glorifies Lord Ganesha. Then comes the Trikhandi Pranam, in which the dancer offers her gratitude, deep respect to the Almighty, to her teacher, her guru, and to the entire audience. Mangala Charan by Sana Panda. Thank you.
Sana, please come again. Give her a big round of applause. And Arpita. You were amazing. And Arpita, also her teacher. Would you believe that she's been dancing since she was 5 and she looks like 6? So she's now what, 9? 10. She's now 10. And in those numbers of years to be so expert, congratulations. You did great. Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you. You really have a really good teacher. All right, guess who's coming soon? Yes. So we're going to sort of really now set the tone for Sister Jayanti to come to the stage soon. But before we do that, how many of you know the famous instrument of a sitar? So beautiful of an instrument, isn't it? It gives me great pleasure to invite Sambarta Rakshit, who will be here to come on up and really put us into a beautiful space of music with sitar. And right after that, we're going to have a wonderful conversation with Brahma Kumari's Sister Jayanti. Sambar, please come give him a round of applause. He has been playing sitar for a number of years and is one of the sought-after sitar players in our area. And they're very rare to find. And he plays it from the heart and invites you to really go into that spiritual space through the sound of sitar. Brother Sambartha, thank you so much. That was so beautiful. Wow. So the moment that we've all been waiting for over 55 years, this young woman in India bumped into a beautiful other angel called Dadi Janki in India. And since then, as a young teenager, her life has never been the same. I just want to kind of give you an idea. Many of you who are my friends, you know about Dadi Janki, who was the joint administrational head, rather the head of the Brahma Kumaris. And she passed away a little bit over about a year and a half ago. And she was at the beautiful age of 103. And Sister Jayanti has spent most of her life with Dadi Janki, traveling around the world with her, learning from the spiritual gifts and values and ethics and principles that Dadi Janki laid down so deeply in her and in all of us so many of us throughout the Brahma Kumaris. And you know, it's been now our 84th year in service to humanity, and I feel like as the Brahma Kumaris, we're reaching a real tipping point in the way we do service. It's not necessarily service in words that really matter the most to us anymore, even though I've not stopped talking since I've been up here. But it's mostly service in our character, our nature, the divinity, the values, the virtues, the principles. I was in Peace Village Learning and Retreat Center, our retreat center in upstate New York, was that yesterday, Sister? I think it was yesterday or 2 days ago. And I have to tell you, if you were there with me, the atmosphere of people from all around this country, you saw the best in them. And Sister Jayanti has been one of those teachers that have imparted in all of us the best of who we can be. And the reason why Sister Jayanti has done that for over 55 years is her unwavering, deep, sincere, private relationship and commitment to God, the Supreme Energy. I can tell you all of her accolades, it wouldn't matter. But what I'd like to do now is to invite Sister Jayanti on the stage, and I'd like to ask everyone to welcome her Washington style. There we go. Is yours on? So imagine this, a night in your living room with one of your favorite aunties, one of your favorite friends, one of your favorite mentors, and that's our Sister Jayanti. Sister Jayanti, we've come together to really highlight the spirituality and the soul of India, but to also find out more about who we are as people. And I'm curious to hear your point of view as to why throughout history people tend to trek to India to find God or to find their spiritual roots. You could be Jewish, you could be an atheist, you could be a Catholic. There's a lure, there's an attraction for souls to go to India to find something. What is that something?
Om Shanti. A greeting of peace to all my sisters and my brothers. And yes, Jenna, India has been a sacred pilgrimage place throughout the ages. It's a place where we believe that the Devtas stayed here on the planet, on the earth, in Bharat, the original name for India. And through the ages, there have been temples built for the glory of God. There has been dance and music created, again, in praise of God. And so God is very present even today. We see a lot of sad things happening in the world and also in India, but yet the love for God and the love for truth and that feeling that everything, absolutely everything is sacred is still very present, and you can feel it when you touch the soil of India.
Now, you've spent most of your life outside of India. How have you been able to maintain those spiritual values? Because some of us get so influenced by other values.
Since childhood, I remember going to the temple with my grandmother, and rather than go here and there, it was something that would attract me and draw me. And then moving to England in 1957, my mother was already a Raj Yogi, following the disciplines of the Brahma Kumaris, staying within the home, the family, but yet still maintaining her spiritual life. And so she instilled in my brother and myself the values of spirituality. And then when I traveled to India from time to time, I'd meet the Brahma Kumari sisters and brothers, and in fact also the founder, Brahmak Baba. And so that had a huge impact in terms of the pure personality that Brahma Baba had. If that person were to walk into a room of 1,000 people, the radiance that he had, the aura that he had was such that everybody would turn their heads to look at him. And yet, of course, he's remained very incognito, very, very quiet, very humble, and yet an amazingly incredible personality. And so that, again, had an impact. But it was when I was in India for an extended period of time that I then went to meet Dadi Janki, and the things that she shared were so powerful that I thought, I need to understand more of these ideas. And within 6 weeks, I decided that this was to be my life, and I haven't changed my mind yet.
Congratulations to that, for sure. What was Brahma Baba's presence like? For example, if the president walks in the room, I'm aware it's the president of the United States because of his title, his role, and he's a nice guy. And yet, what was he like? Because here he was, he didn't have a title. He didn't have a position. He didn't have a great dynasty. What was it that you saw in Brahma Baba that opened you up, that awakened you?
Baba's eyes. You knew that this was a person who had traveled deeply within himself and knew himself. And also, this was a person who was able to connect with the divine and allow the divine to be present, and we would feel the presence of the divine in his company. But his eyes radiated spirituality, compassion, love, and a spiritual authority. Can you imagine all of these paradoxical opposites all coming together? The love and the compassion, but also spiritual power and authority. And so, an incredible individual. And the amazing thing is that from that one individual who had a series of visions in what was at that time the United India in Hyderabad, which is today in Sindh in Pakistan, but at that time India was one, and this was in 1936. So we are honoring 75 years of India's independence, but also the spiritual revolution that Brahma Baba initiated happened around the same time. It was in the 30s that Mahatma Gandhi was inspired to start his work, and it was in the 30s that Brahma Baba was inspired to begin his work. And so this one individual inspired at first around 400 people who began to follow these ideas. Just imagine the power of one to influence. Yeah. And after they had moved to Mount Abu, which was in 1950, the training that, and it was a majority of women, it was open to men and women, but even today if you go to a temple or a church, and I can't see very clearly here because it's dark, but I imagine there's probably a few more women than men. So, but that happens generally in spiritual places. And so around 350 people, by then numbers had changed when they moved from Karachi, they had had a period of 14 years of intense meditation through the period of the Second World War, through the period of the Civil War, the Partition War in India, and it was yoga, the power of peaceful vibrations that kept them safe. And when they came back to India, they came to India at that time again for another year. So a total of 14 years of intense meditation and spiritual training. And these women went first to all the corners of India and then abroad. And so something started by one individual now has impacted and transformed the lives of millions. And it's in existing now in 120 countries. And my own spiritual birth, Dadi Janki was the one who was sharing wisdom that touched my heart and I resonated with. But it was the meeting with Brahma Baba that put the stamp on this and made me realize that this is what I need to do.
Yeah. I'm glad that Brahma Baba put a stamp on you. Right? Aren't we glad that he put a stamp on her? It's funny, because when you were speaking about the qualities of Brahma Baba, I see them in you too. And we're just seeing how the generations upon generations are growing in the community of the Brahma Kumaris. So, are you all busy people? Is anyone here busy? Have you ever been busy? I think a question that Sister Jayanti can answer really, really, really well is how does one quiet a busy mind and a busy lifestyle? What is the trick? What's the secret? What's the method?
It's a training, it's a process, and so it doesn't happen instantly. To be still and quiet for a minute, that's possible. But when you practice meditation, especially early in the morning, and I won't tell you how early, very early, but it means that you're putting the compass straight, pointing to true north from the start of the day. And so at that time, reflecting on the inner being, the self, connecting with the divine, and drawing that love and power within the self is a very exquisite experience. And as a result of that, the mind becomes more and more interested in experimenting and experiencing these ideas. And so the stillness that you acquire from that is something that's very precious. And through the day, you can keep connecting back to that and experiencing it again and again. And so when life is going on normal, it's fine, but you practice again and again, just a moment of quiet. In fact, we do this every hour, on the hour, just for a few minutes, so that we keep this awareness of the inner being and the connection with the divine. And then what happens is that as you've built up this practice, then you find yourself in a situation that maybe earlier would have caused a lot of stress or anxiety. But because of the practice that you've had, it's like rehearsals. You've been having those rehearsals, you've been in training, and at that moment when there's stress or there's things that are not going as you would wish, you're able to draw on that inner power and experience that peace within. And of course, it then means that you're better equipped to deal with whatever is the situation. Normally what happens is that we carry on in our lives and it's fine. And then when there's a stressful situation that comes, we get impacted by that. And there's a huge amount of tension and worry that builds up. And at that moment, you don't know what to do. And there's confusion. And that confusion means that probably we make decisions that we wouldn't have if we were practicing meditation.
Yeah. I think one of the biggest challenges is that we just don't take the time internally to pay attention to that practice.
We don't realize that there's a need for it. It's like, when you're little, I didn't know that you needed to keep drinking water to keep yourself hydrated. And it was only much, much later that I began to understand that this is important, that this is what I need to do. And so it's the same thing with meditation. At the moment when you think, it's okay, I'm managing okay, you don't realize the need or the value. And then maybe there's a curiosity that arises and you start looking. Or maybe you find yourself in a very stressful situation and you know that it's not going to the doctor that's going to take away your stress. Maybe it's going to create more stress. But you know that there must be something that you haven't yet found that's going to help you. And so you start searching.
Yeah.
And so maybe it's your own desire for truth,
Yeah.
but there can be different stimuli that can lead you in that direction.
Yeah. I think also time plays a factor, do you think? Like you have to be ready?
I'm not sure that I was ready, and neither was I looking, but I was curious.
Yeah.
And so that took me to Dadi Janki to knock on her door, literally knock on her door. And then, of course, the treasures that I was receiving were so amazing.
Yeah.
I thought, this is what I want to study.
It's lovely, beautiful. So we've been enjoying a global pandemic, and I think when it started, we thought that this was a big thing where the world would have changed, or I thought that this was it. This is the moment in time where the world paused, and that when we got out of it, we'd be better people. And yet, what we're witnessing is just really a lot of violence and chaos that's emerging. Could you speak a little bit to this? What is it teaching us, and what is it teaching us?
I want to go back to the story of Bharat, India. And one of the words that's being used in India is they speak about the Adi Sanatan Devta Dharma, the original eternal deity religion. And it includes the concept of worshipping the deities. But if you think about deity, Devta, Dene Vala, the one who gives. And so the sun gives, so they worship that. Nature gives so much abundance, so they worship that. But they also worship the beings who were bestowers, donors, givers. And so within that, they say that the foremost quality of the Devta Dharma is ahimsa, non-violence. Or another translation, which is perhaps more accurate, but we usually connect it with non-violence, but the more precise translation of that is do no harm. Now, if I follow that concept and I create an awareness of peace within myself, then my behavior, my thoughts, my words, my actions, my interaction with others is also going to be based on peace and ahimsa. And so I think that it's a very important concept to come back to, that my original state of being is peace. Om Shanti. Think about water and how the original state of water is cool. But then you heat it up, and yes, it can be so hot that it scalds you, but take away the heat, and again, it'll cool down to its original state. And so it seems that materialism, consumerism, has made us forget who we are, that we are that eternal light, the soul, that lives here in the center of the forehead. And having forgotten this, they've also forgotten that Om Shanti, I am peace. And so we've lost touch with ourselves. And that's created a huge amount of insecurity. We don't know who we are. One of the big crises of the world is identity crisis. And it's not just because we've migrated 1, 2, 3 generations ago and come to a different country. Yes, there's a definite identity crisis that many are familiar with, but even people generally living in the same country, born in that country, and with their family around them, etc., there's always this question about identity. Well, who am I really? And so this loss of awareness of who I am means that there's a deep insecurity within all of us. And the insecurity is leading to fear. And when there's fear, there's violence. And when there's a knowing of the self, of the inner being, then in that condition, I'm very secure. And in that security, rather than be afraid of a stranger, I want to know the stranger. I don't feel that he's a stranger. another beautiful concept of Bharat is that of Vasudha Kutumba. The world is one family. I know we sing about it today, but this is actually something that's been around in Bharat for millennia. And so it's a concept that was absolutely sacred and held true. And so I remember reading some of the diaries of Vasco da Gama, and he writes in the, I think it was the 15th century, and he writes that I haven't been to a place where there are no beggars. And if you knock on the door of anyone in the village and they see that you're a stranger, they won't be afraid to invite you inside. And if you ask for a glass of water, they'll give you a glass of milk, maybe almond milk now, but, but at that time, just milk. And so that was the concept. World is one family. And today, we've totally forgotten about that. And so we've moved very far away from those eternal truths that were the support of civilization for so long. And so today we get scared of a stranger or somebody who doesn't look like me, somebody who's different. And then because of that fear, there's then aggression.
Definitely the identity crisis is really the issue. And many of us have inner conflict at some point in time in our lives, right? There's a career decision to make. Maybe you're planning to either get married or get divorced or higher your education or move to another country. There's a fear inside, Sister Jayanti. There's a resistance. There's, I'm not sure, and you're battling with yourself and you're trying to push things and make things happen. And this conflict just becomes almost nature. And what do you see in our society where this inner conflict seems to become the norm? And for you, inner peace is the norm. What is the homework assignment here for everyone?
I think what's happening is that we get very easily led by our physical senses. I want to eat this, even though I know it's not good for my health. I don't want to eat this, even though I know it's good for my health. And so something as basic as food, and it creates this inner conflict. And of course, sometimes it's more serious than just whether I eat spinach and broccoli or I don't, and what it is I am eating. And so inner conflict is something that we're constantly dealing with, because on the one side, there's my conscience, and on the other side, there are my feelings and emotions. And we don't know how to align both together. And again, meditation enables me to make the conscience so powerful that my mind is able to listen to the power of the buddhi, the intellect, the conscience. And so when both are aligned together, then there's peace within, and there's a very natural way of behavior out there. And when there's constant conflict going on inside, it's not even just in the sort of situations that you describe of, big time decisions and everything, but day by day, moment to moment, there's this pull. On the one side, the physical senses, I see something and I want it. And I know I don't have enough money in my pocket to pay for it or enough money in my bank to use my plastic card, but I still want it. And so I'm trying to deal with these things all the time, because consumerism and materialism, however glorified they may be today, but in fact, they fuel inner desires without allowing an individual to come to a state of contentment. And if you think back to even 50 years ago, I don't know whether you're old enough to think back 50 years.
I am old enough.
But certainly I am. And generally speaking, there was comfort, but everything was in moderation. Today, everything seems to be extravagant and in excess.
Yeah.
And because of this, again, the desires are constantly growing, and there's never a state of peace or contentment.
Yeah.
And so we think we're going to find happiness by this, by this, by this, but happiness eludes us, because in fact happiness is within. And so when we discover this secret that happiness is inside, and it doesn't come from purchasing a new car or a new pair of shoes, and that's very temporary, very short-lived, but it's actually when you touch the soul that you are, then within you there's a world of treasures, and you can tap into those.
You mentioned about conscience. How can a buddhi, an intellect that hasn't been listening to itself truthfully, awaken its conscience again, or somehow find some discernment in how their conscience can be their best friends if they listen to it versus when they turn it off? What do we do to awaken our conscience when we've been ignoring it for so long?
I think that moment of either curiosity or search for truth, when that moment comes, then it's not just that I say, okay, I'm going to sit in silence in a corner and I'm going to be inspired and I'm going to become enlightened, but you start searching and you maybe come across some spiritual guidance, spiritual knowledge that can explain to you. Having grown up in the West, and yet having been born in India, I was searching here and there till age 14. And by age 14, I thought, well, nobody's got any answers for me. And maybe science has answers. So I thought I'd just focus on that. But then when this curiosity arose, then the very first lesson I had, which was the foundation for meditation, was about the identity of the self. We've heard this word Atma, but what soul? What exactly is Atma? You know, the word atom comes from Atma. The Greeks borrowed the word from Sanskrit. And so from what they thought was that which cannot be divided into any further parts, that which was the smallest particle of matter, they called atom. And in fact, it came from Atma, that being which can never be divided, but is eternal and always exists. So when we understand Atma, then in that awareness, we understand how all of these interact together. My thoughts, my feelings, my personality, my memory, my conscience. And so you have to give a little bit of time, not a huge amount, but I had more questions answered within that first lesson, which must have been about an hour, not much longer than that, than I had in my 19 years.
Yeah, I remembered when I realized that I was a soul, and you know, there were just these memories of not just of even this lifetime, but I was carrying experiences of many past, and they were still present in my current life. And only when I was able to get the knowledge of recognizing my religion and nature was peace and purity, I was able to apply that and look at the thought or the feeling I'm having and say, does this connect to who I really am, or is this my truth? Because the past had some different emotions connected versus just my truth as a being, which was very dynamic in terms of my peace and purity. God cannot be squeezed into a religion. We figured that out by now in the 21st century. And there are various faiths out there that are doing the best that they can to help humanity to stay on track. And yet it has become quite difficult, very, very difficult. How can we establish not only a deep reconnection or connection to God, but how can we make that connection into a relationship that it's very difficult to break despite whatever I go through?
Again, going back to India, we believe in cyclical time, not just linear time. And so our understanding is that just as you have the day and the night, and after the night, the day comes again, in the same way, the world goes through a cyclical process. So there's the Golden Age, the Silver Age, the Copper Age, the Iron Age. Golden Age, in Hindi, the term is Satyug, the age of truth, and that encompasses everything. And Kali Yuga is the age of death, the age of the machine, Kal. And so, again, it tells you a lot about what's going on. And my understanding is that we are now at that period which is the dark night, absolutely the darkest hour. And it's called Kali Yuga. And it's that period in which there's a huge amount of negativity across the world. I remember there was a magazine that was started in England many years ago, and it was called the Good News magazine. And after some years, about 5 or 7 years, the person who had started this magazine said to me that we'd known her when she was starting, and so we kept that friendship. And she said to me, it doesn't sell very well. People are not interested in good news. They want dramatic news and things that have drama and scandal. They're interested in those things rather than good news. Good news is quiet, is very gentle, but bad news is dramatic. And so the negativity of the Iron Age is absolutely around us everywhere in everything that's going on. But this is where we also know that when there is extreme negativity, then there has to come a shift. And I believe that this period that we are now passing through is actually the turning point. After the darkest hour, the dawn breaks and the day begins. And this is why, on the one side, yes, we see the descending energy of negativity, but we also see the ascending energy of goodness. People are interested in vegan diet, plant-based diet. They're interested now in holistic approaches to health rather than just take tablets out of a bottle. They're interested to understand how to bring the different religions and faiths together. Stay within your own faith, but be able to have a platform to communicate with people of other faiths. So I see all of these things as being part of the ascent, that the dawn has broken, and I believe the day is about to come. And when I understand that this is that transition period, which is actually the most exciting period, because it's this connection of that which is powerful and positive and that which is negative. And so when two opposing energies come together, there's upheaval, quite a bit of upheaval. And that's what we're seeing. But I can choose which direction do I want to go in. Do I want to go in the ascending direction or the descending direction? And once I've made my decision based on understanding various spiritual truths, then I'm going to be able to move in a direction of my choice. But that's also the direction in which, once I've made my decision, there's a huge amount of help available from the divine, because I'm here then to be uplifted.
Yeah, beautiful. That's lovely. So I have the fortune of speaking on various platforms. And one of the things that I've noticed that keeps coming out of my mouth is that I believe and I know God has descended. And in many religious scriptures, they talk about this second coming, or, you know, if the energy of God descends, then the whole world's coming to an end and it's chaos and pandemonium. And I haven't felt that. What I have felt is he comes quietly in a space in your mind and he empowers it. And how I feel, and I'm very sure of this, that the energy of God is here. I see it in you. I see it in many of my friends and individuals in the audience. I see the purity in your eyes. I feel the peace in your presence. And then I get convinced, yes, I know he's here. how can I recognize that? Is there a way that I can recognize it and begin to deepen that relationship with the divine so my eyes can sparkle more, so that my smile is bigger, Sister Jayanti, so that wherever we go, we just make the world into a better experience for everyone?
There's a promise made by God to humanity, and that is that whenever there is unrighteousness, I incarnate and I bring to you the knowledge of yoga, the knowledge of the path of righteousness again. And so when I begin yoga, and yoga means union, connection. And so when I begin on the journey of Raj Yoga, and Raja, the king, the sovereign, yoga with the highest, yoga through which I regain self-mastery, self-sovereignty, the yoga which is the highest of yogas. So Raj Yoga encompasses all these ideas. And so when I start to study Raj Yoga, I begin to understand who I am and who is the divine. And so that understanding has to be the first step. Because then on the base of that understanding, again, it might be challenging to the ideas that I've had already, but I have a choice. What is it that I choose to believe? But also, two things happen. In Raj Yoga, whatever questions arise, there's an opportunity to explore those and understand those. At no point are you ever told you have to just believe.
Yeah.
No, you can understand and ask and explore. And so that's one aspect. And the other aspect is that even the first lesson of the soul, you can experiment with that idea and experience for yourself what is the difference between being here and feeling that energy that I am, that divine spark that I am, as distinct to just the energy of the physical identity. And so these two things, being able to receive answers to all my questions, and secondly, to be able to self with this, allowed me to understand God, begin the journey of understanding God, and have a connection. And through the experience that I was having in meditation, I knew that I was in the right place. I knew that it was a connection which wasn't an ordinary one, that it was truly the experience of God's love, the experience of spiritual power that gave me the capacity to even decide to make this my life. So I don't think it could have happened if I hadn't had that experience of God's love. But this is available to all. And I don't mean in 6 weeks you decide to adopt a spiritual path which is going to change your life, but certainly in 6 weeks, less than that in fact, and in a few days, you can decide that spirituality can come back into your life. And yes, you continue with your job, your education, or your family, whatever it is you're engaged in, but you also add to that the dimension of spirituality, so that that spirituality helps you in terms of relationships in the family, in terms of excellence at work, more clarity in your education. All of this happens.
Beautiful, beautiful. You've counseled many world leaders. If they were all in this room, all the prime ministers and all the presidents of countries around the world, Sister Jayanti, what would be your message to the presidents, the prime ministers, and the leaders of our world? What would you tell them?
I would tell them, find the peace that lies within. And once you've experienced that peace, then truly you can be the sort of leader that the world is crying out for today, one who's able to walk the path of peace and enable others to move in that direction.
Beautiful. Thank you. Beautiful, right? Yeah. I'm just wondering, as we come to a close to our wonderful chit-chat, what's our inner assignment? What's the homework you'd like to give us before we leave the room tonight? What? Something that...
Make time for yourself, because so often our time is occupied in many different things, but to actually have me time, to be able to value myself sufficiently that I make time for myself so that then I can get to know myself a little better, even better and better. And in spiritual language, it's called self-realization. But just looking at it in ordinary human terms, if you want to get to know somebody, the first thing you do is make time for them. And if you don't have time for someone, they'll say, well, okay, that's fine, you're not interested. So am I doing that to myself? Or am I saying, I must make time to get to know myself better and better? And if I can know myself, I can then begin to love myself. How many of us know how to love ourselves? Or is there this silent criticism going on, this voice that's going on complaining about me to myself all the time? I wish I hadn't done this, I wish it wasn't like this, I wish all that complaints about the self. Because however it is I treat myself, that's actually how I treat others.
Yeah.
And so where, for example, in the Bible it says, love thy neighbor as you would love yourself. Well, the reason why we don't love our neighbors is because we don't know how to love ourselves. And so I would say, first step, please recognize your value and make time for yourself. And many other things will follow on from that.
Thank you so much. I'd love us to show our appreciation to Sister Jayanti. One of the, maybe your phones, bring out your flashlights. This is one of the things that we do in the West. Please let me see you light up the room and express your love for the wisdom that she shared with us tonight. And one of the beautiful gifts from India has been a very well-known mantra, which is Om. And I'm just wondering if while you hold up your light and express your love for her sharing of this evening, and we spread this peace and power throughout the whole area of Washington, D.C. and around the world, can we chant Om just a little as our offering together? Would you like to lead?
Yes,
The Om?
indeed.
Okay.
Okay. Take a deep breath. Last time.
Thank you. It's a customary practice in the Brahma Kumaris known as drishti. And it's the greeting between souls. And Sister Jayanti has been having a deep, intimate relationship with the divine, with God, the Supreme, for almost 60 years. And one of the precious things about her presence when you're close to her is that you can feel the energy of God's purity. And what I'd like to do is to share that with you all so that you take that into your areas. And I'll be requesting Sister Jayanti to come up to the center of the stage very silently. And I'm asking you to just settle with your eyes opened as she goes into meditation and basically just extends her good wishes and pure feelings for your journey and to give you blessings and inspiration in silence. Sister Jayanti, would you be able to join us?
I'll share a few thoughts to move us in the direction so that then we're all moving together. And I invite you to follow these ideas. Going on an inner journey, coming to the awareness of the inner being, the soul. I focus on the center of the forehead and visualize a shining star. I am this inner being, a being of light. I am peace. And in this awareness of peace, I can feel the presence of the divine, the supreme being, the source of light, of love, of truth. And from the being who is truth, love, and peace, those qualities reach the soul. And those qualities are as vast as the ocean. And each one of us can fill ourselves the light, the love, peace and truth reach beyond these walls of this room, out into the city and out into the world. And they touch all souls. And those who understand and are ready are able to absorb these qualities within themselves. As the light spreads around, the darkness ends and the day begins. And we move into that era of peace, harmony, and truth once more. Om Shanti. Om Shanti. From the bottom of our hearts, we'd like to thank you for coming out tonight. And hopefully, tonight was transformative for you, whereby you were able to gain some realization, self realization, and to be inspired, to contribute more to humanity than you take. It's our deep wish, everyone here at the Brahma Kumaris, we wish you the ultimate best. Deeply, we just want the best for you. That you live your lives fully and large, but with peace, integrity, character, love, and happiness. Thank you so much for coming tonight, and my recommendation is to savor the silence of the evening and to walk in peace, and maybe to even look at each other with that energy of peace as you go home and share this vibration with your family, with your children, with your spouses, with your friends. Please be safe and please take care of one another, and hopefully we'll see you again very soon. Thank you so much for coming. So, Om Shanti, there will be some gifts being given to you at the door as you exit, and there are good wish and blessings cards. Now, these blessings will come true. Please make sure you receive them as you leave the hall. Thanks again. And for my friends in the first two rooms, stay back a little. Have a wonderful evening. Thank you all again.
I feel it now. It's all around me. A silent voice I can't deny. A mother's arms, how they surround me. They sing the beauty of my life.
It will last forever. It will never fade away. Never cause me pain. This love, this
I close my eyes. It takes me over. A memory deep down in my soul. And say